Hello, this is Lincoln Easley here, and we're in class FFT 114, and today we're going to go into holster making. So we're going to get to work on making this holster, but first I'm going to show you all the tools that I'm going to use to help me make this holster. I also have other tools that are in my shop that I'm not going to be showing, but you will be seeing later on. But these are the main tools I'm going to be using. This is what we're going to be coming up with. We're going to be coming up with a holster similar to this. This holster is for the CZ75. It also has a locking mechanism. We're not going to have that. So this kind of gives an idea of what we're coming up with. The holster design that I'm going to be working on is pretty similar to what you see right here. This is a holster design that I like. And this is going to be for a Glock 19. This is going to be for a competition holster. So I can actually use this for competitions when I'm going to go compete. So this is my Glock 19. I got it all taped up. It's all ready to go. And the things that you're going to be using, you're going to be using these little dowels here. This is going to be going down the sides, certain parts of the gun for the holster, so that way it'll be able to slide in and slide out really easy. You're going to be using popsicle sticks. Fortunately, in California, it's really hard to acquire a model gun. Apparently, it's harder to get one of those than it is a real gun. So I had to use an actual real firearm for this. This is checked, it is unloaded, it is ready to go. So this is what I'm going to be using. So it's not loaded, it's all ready to go. So as you can see, there's no magazine. You can't do the trigger, so even if you want to shoot it, you can't, because it is literally completely set for as a mold gun right now. You're going to be using the material to make the holster. And this is going to be making a belt grip so that way I can be able to put it on my belt. The next thing is you're going to need a tape measure. You're going to need a paint pen so that we can mark it. And then I bought this so that way I could paint the holster to my liking. So I'm going to use like a tactical green on the holster when I go to paint it. You're going to need painter's tape. This is very valuable, very important. You're going to need a temperature gun so you can check the temperature. You're going to need a pair of pliers. This is something I found is very useful. The other thing is you're going to need 2 of these clamps for clamping it into the press. And you're going to also need a Dremel. This is one of your most valuable tools. You're going to need this. So you're going to be doing some polishing, you're going to be doing some sanding, you're going to do some cutting with your Dremel. So this is a very valuable piece of equipment that you're going to need. And last but not least, you're going to need your press. So this is the press I'm going to be using. This is the one that I also built for this. So we're going to be getting this going right now. We're going to get to work and we're going to start getting this heated up in the oven, and we're going to start putting it all together, and we're going to go step by step by step until this is all done. And then that way, by the time I'm done, I'm going to attach it to my belt, and we're going to see how well this gun works and see if I decide to use this for competition, because I think this is going to be an awesome, it's going to be a very fun experience, and I can see myself doing this for many different projects. I mean, it's really cool when you can custom make your own stuff to your liking. So I'm going to get to work on this, and we're going to start working and getting this holster made. Thank you. All right, so here I am, and right here we have our design that we're going to be cutting, which is right here. So there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can do this a taco design, or you can do this a sandwich design. I'm going to be doing the sandwich design. So that way later on I could actually make 1 or 2 of these for magazines. I could probably do about 2 magazine sets, so I can hold 4 magazines total. So we're going to get this going again. I got myself a saw so we can go through and start cutting. There we go, we got 1 down. Now we're going to go to the next one. There we go. Now we have our 2 pieces cut, ready to go. I did cut this a little bit off, but once I figured the machine out, it works pretty well. But I'd still be able to do this for my to do my magazines for later on. So we're going to shut the machine off, and now we're going to go on to the next part of the project. Hello, this is Lincoln here. Now we're over here, and we're heating up our deals for our deal. It's got to be about 320 degrees. So we have the tester right here. So we're going to use this tester to find out what the temperature is. And that way I can go over. So right now we're at 25 degrees. So it's got a little ways to go. So we're going to get this done, and then we're going to go and pull this out, and we're going to press our mold to this to make our holster. All right, so now that we have it in the oven, we're going to check the temperature. And right now it's sitting at about 300 degrees. So we have to just go a little bit longer when we go to do this. So when this heats up enough, it needs to be about 120 degrees. And after we heat it at 20 degrees, we're going to go through and we're going to put it on the press with the Glock 19 that's wrapped up as a mold, so that way we could actually do the first stages of making our holster. So we have our clamps right here to clamp it. I got the press right over here, so that way we can start doing the process. So I can take it from there and put it right to the press. So let me check it one more time. All right, there we go, 320 degrees. So that's perfect. So we're going to pull these out. You want to make sure you have gloves on because it's really hot. You don't want to burn yourself. Now we're going to go through and we're going to put it right in the press. All right, now we have our press all set up, and we're going to go through. I'm going to still have my gloves on, and we're going to transfer the mold right to the press, and we're going to go through and we're going to start setting these all up. So there we go. We got one right there. So it's all ready to go. I'm going to put my firearm right here. So I'll put that right here. These are really hot. So there's where my firearm's going to go. And then I'm going to get my last one. And put that right there. And now we're going to go through and we're going to do the press. And we're going to go and press it down, and it should be ready to go. So we're going to go through. There's our press. We're going to bring it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our clamps and we're going to start clamping it. And it recommends you use 2 clamps. I got 3. So that way I can get a more of an even clamp all the way through it. And you want to clamp it. I do this so that way it's even all the way across. You generally want to get it as tight as you can get it, but nice and even at the same time. So I should be able to do a lot of these with this. All right, we're just about done. That's getting nice and tight. And there we go. So now we just got it clamped. That's nice and tight. So now we're going to let that press nice and tight and let it mold. So we're going to get done with this. I'm going to get my gloves off, and then I'm going to set my gloves right here. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to check this and see how it is. And then I'm going to go over and we're going to start getting it set up to start putting the rivets in. All right, so I'm back, and it just got done with the whole thing. So now we're taking these off. We're going to check our mold, and we're going to see how our mold came out. So we've got to gradually just pop them off real slow. And these are on there pretty tight. Wow, they're really tight. There we go. There's one. And there's the other. There's the other. And we almost got it. Now that we got them off, we're going to check our mold. Let's see how our mold came out. And there we go. That came out nice and good. So it looks like it needs to go in there a little bit longer. It still needs a little more pressing to it. And then we'll go back to it and see how far we got to go. But it looks like we're getting pretty close to it. And then we're going to go to the next step. So we're going to go through, repress this, and we're going to come back to it, and we're going to go through and start the next process, which would be to start doing the rivets and the drilling. So we'll take it to a drill press and start drilling it. All right, now I'm back again. We're going to go ahead and check these again, but I think they're about ready now. And we're going to go through and pop this out, and look at that. That is a nice mold right there. So we're going to go through after we got this mold, and now we have to go through. We got to rivet, and we got to cut this whole thing now that we have it all done. So the next step I'm going to do is we got to clamp all these right here where they're at, and then I got to go through and put the rivets in, so that way the gun will be able to slide in and slide out really easy. So now that we have this part done, it should be good to go. So I'm probably going to cut it out right here. I'm probably going to cut it around here, and then I'm going to have it come out to right here, so that way you just be able to draw it and pull it. So I'm going to go through and we're going to start getting our next step going. So we'll go to the next step and we're going to get back to video. So now we have our whole thing clamped. It's ready to go. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to get this ready to start putting the rivets in, and then we're going to set it to go through and have the holster mounted. So that way when I'm ready to go and do all this, we can start putting everything together, and it should be good to go for after it's all built and done. So we have our rivets right here. We got our holster screws right here, so we can put the holster screws in. And we got our rivet device right here. They do have a bigger one that you could buy when you go to do more commercial kind of stuff, but this is what I have right now, but I do have a ball peen hammer. So the first step we're going to do before we do any of this is I'm going to be using this model right here to set up my holster the way I want it. Now, there's going to be some things that are slightly different from this to this, but I'm building this holster for when I go to do competitions and I have an easy holster to draw from that I'd be able to pull out, do my competitions, and then draw it back in. So the first things first, I'm going to use a paint pen to do the whole thing. So I'm going to get this paint pen all set, make sure it's all working good. And then we're going to go through and we're going to start setting all our holes, make sure it's all good to go. So a lot of times with these here, I get that pen nice and wet. Takes a minute. So it takes a little bit to get these pins up and running good, but after a while they start working. Almost. I almost hate to paint this thing because I kind of like the black color to it. All right, looks like the paint pen's working now. So now the paint pen's all working good, we're going to start going over and we're going to start drawing out our design. So from what I'm noticing, I kind of want this to be a little bit high up here. I kind of want that highness for when I go to draw from the hip. So the first things first, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put my screw holes in. So I think I'm going to get one right there. I'm going to get one right there. And then I'm going to also have one in the center right here. And I'm going to have another one right about here as well. I think that's where my 3 holes are going to be. So that's kind of how I have it drawn out right there. Now for this side, I'm going to have 4 going down here. So I'm going to have one probably right about here. I'm going to have another one right here. And one right here. And one right there. So that's where I'm going to put my rivets in. And now I'm going to go through and we're going to create the design that I'm going to use for this. So obviously, right here is where the mount's going to be. So I'm going to actually have one hole right there. And the other hole is going to be right there. So there they are. I see both holes. So that's where both holes are going to be. go right there. And I got to drill those out. Now what I'm considering, because of the way the holster design is, I'm going to actually draw this, and generally you just do a rough draw of how you're going to do this. Try not to touch the paint lines of where you have it, because this is where it's more of artwork than technique. Draw that right down there. So we got that part going. Now I'm going to actually have this opened up right here versus closed. I'm going to have it come in this way, and then have it go up and then down. So that's kind of how I want it, like that. I want it more open than out. So I'm going to readjust these here so I have a little bit more room to work with. There we go. And I'll put them back here when I'm done. So as of right here, I like to pull this down this way. So I'm going to have this go up like that. And then I'm going to bring this straight down. So this is going to go all the way down here. And then I'm going to have this angle out like that. I think that's a pretty good holster right there. I think that's going to work out really well. So before I do that, I'm going to put these back. And put this one back where it was. All right, so now we got that step done. So now we're going to turn this around the other way. And right here, we're going to draw out this right here where we're going to go through and have this part done. So generally, we have this as a high spot right here for when we're drawing the holster out. This, I'm going to want this as a low spot so I can grab it down. So generally, I want this cut at a different rate than what's right here. So what I'm going to pretty much do right here is this is going to cut down this way. Because what's cool about this, it's my design, it's how I want it to be, it's what I think is going to be best. So apparently right here it comes out, so it looks like it's going to be coming off from right here is about where it's going to be. It's going to come up, and I'm going to have it come around, so we're going to actually have it down low towards the trigger housing, or where the trigger is. So it's going to come right about there, and I'm going to have it go right out like that, and then right in. That way I have it a little bit lower right here than I do up here. So we're going to have a little bit different. I may cut this further down and have it go out like that. So that way when this is cut here, this will be all good to go. I don't have to worry about doing anything here because we already have it on this side. So that's the design that I have for there. So now we're going to put this right here. And now we're going to go to the next step. Now we're going to start getting the drills sized up, and we're going to start drilling the holes in. All right, so I'm taking the gun out because the last thing I want to do is drill holes through my Glock 19. And we're going to set that aside. Then we have the mold right here. This is all ready to go. These are all pressed and tight. And we're going to start getting the rivet holes drilled. Try not to put a drill hole through your finger. That's not very pleasant. It doesn't feel good. Just go right into it and you'll be good to go. And there we go. And I successfully did that without drilling through my table. And now that we got that done, so I have this device right here. This is what I use for burrowing out screws, or burrowing out my ammo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here. We're just going to go nice and easy like there. So we can polish that end up. I'm going to go and do this end. There we go. And that just kind of cleans up both the burrs right here. This will make it so that way we can go through and we can go through and put it in. We'll put those rivets in. There we go. It's all cleaned up on that side. Fortunately, I've never done this before, so this is quite new to me, but the best way I know is I want to do these one at a time, make sure they fit in good. Apparently that's a nice tight squeeze. So we're going to need a little bit bigger screw hole than that, because apparently that didn't work. So we're going to go with one size bigger, and then we're going to see how that works. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm just going to go through just like this. Just do that instead of going one size bigger, because they're not far from fitting in. I mean, they're almost quite there. So it's pretty close. So we're going to go through. It's going to go a little bit wider. There we go. And that should fit right in now. There we go. Now it fits right in, and now we can go through and crimp it. So we're going to get these all done, and then we're going to go to the next step. All right, now we have all our holes drilled and riveted. Now we got to slowly take these clamps off, and we're going to start filling those holes in and start putting them together. So this is probably going to be a little bit tricky, but I don't see where it's going to be that hard. As long as I hold it all together, it should be pretty good. And it looks like it's working pretty well. And it looks like I'm going to need some kind of spacer or a board. So I'm going to go get a board, and we're going to go over, we're going to start getting this going. All right, now I'm back, and now we're going to go through, and we're going to got a board all set up right here, so we can go through and start riveting our rivets. So we got to have our rivet punch right here. We got to line that up to this one right here. I've never done this before. This is brand new to me. So I'm very curious of how this is going to work. So I'm assuming to do this, based on what I'm seeing right here, is this has to line up right here. I'm going to do a test piece first, and then we're going to go through and do this. All right, so I just did a test run right there to see how to do this, and it looks like I got it figured out. So apparently, for the way I have my gun, this is going to be the front side, so I'm going to have the rivets going right here, so that way they look a little bit cleaner like you see right here. So the first things first, we're going to get one of our rivets out of our bag, and we're going to do these one at a time. And it's going to take a little while, so generally you're going to have it sitting right there, and then I'm going to go through it, and we're just going to do one at a time for every single one. So we're just going to pop it through this hole right here. And it's going to sit. And it did fit in there before. We just got to get it in. There it goes. So now we got it in there. So now I'm going to line it up with right here. Then we're going to start riveting the design in. So apparently it looks like we got to go work on the corner right here. That's where the way the holster is built. Got to compromise with what you have. Okay, we need that. Okay. So you have to look inside there to see where the rivet is, so that way you go through, line it up. And you put the punch in right there. Good hard tap. Looks like we got a little ways to go before we get it riveted in there, but it's going to take a little bit. Got a little ways to go. But once it's in there, it'll be in nice and solid. So it's going to go through. We're going to go through, keep on working on it. Before you know it, it will be riveted in there. So it's still going. Well, this isn't the easiest process to do. There's actually a way easier way of doing this. And if I would have known that I could have bought the tool to do this, I probably would have went ahead and bought the tool and done it that way instead of doing it this way. But for the fun of it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through this whole process to get it done. It's kind of like what I believe. If you're going to start something, you got to finish something. So we're going to get this finished, get it all done. back on there. We're going to get this done one way or the other, because I still have a lot more to go after this. So we're going to keep working on this. We're going to get these all done, and then we're going to go to the next step. All right, so we finally got the rivets all the way in, all the way through them. We still have to drill those two out. The gun fits in the holster and holds in pretty good, so if I hold it upside down, it doesn't fall out. So this is a really good design. I mean, when this is done, I'd be able to go to my tournament shoots. I'd be able to wear this, and I'd have no issues. In fact, if there was anything I would say that I have an issue with any of this, it'd probably be this tool right here. I'd probably be willing to go and spend $100 and go and buy the machine. I could just go and do the rivets a lot easier. It'd be a whole lot easier than putting these in. But I'm not going to complain for making my first holster. I mean, I'm really pleased how this is coming out. So now I'm going to go to the next step, where we're going to go through and we're going to cut this on the saw. And then after that, I'm going to go through and I'm going to start doing the detail cuts with the Dremel. So we're going to get the saw up and we're going to start doing the cuts. All right, now I got my saw up. Now we're going to start getting this thing cutting and getting it going good. Slow that down just a little bit. Go. So we got the one cut. I don't really care if it's, as long as it's somewhat close, I can clean that up with the Dremel. And then we'll go through and we're gonna get the rest of this cut out and we're gonna go to the next step. All right, now we just did the basic cut in the holster. We're gonna do a few more cuts on there and then we're gonna go to the next step and then we're gonna start cutting with the Dremel. Go. We're almost done here. There we go. Now we got our holster all cut. It's all good to go. We're going to go and shut our machine off. So there we go. Now we're going to go through. We have to go through, clean this all up. We're going to probably do some Dremel work. I still have to cut this with the Dremel right here. And then the next step is we got to go through and sand it. So we're going to go and get our sander out. We're going to start sanding. And then after we sand it, then we're going to go through and do Dremel work around here. And then after that, we're going to go through and we're going to put the belt guard on so that way we'll be able to hold it with a belt. And then we'll have a good, solid holster for competition shooting. Okay. So one thing I forgot to mention, safety is very important. You do need to wear your safety glasses when doing this. So the next step we're going to do is I'm going to start removing all of this right here. It is important to understand that this is a cutting wheel. So this can cut your fingers right open, so you gotta be very careful. No trips to the hospital. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start right here. Okay, so apparently it came loose. So we're going to go through and retighten this. There we go. I'm going to fire it back up. This is why we wear safety glasses. Going to make slow cuts going through here until it's all done. And then I'm just going to keep working on this until it's all done, then we're going to go to the next step. All right, so now we went through, we dremeled all the way around the holster. We did some cuts on it. The gun fits really well inside. You want it to where I can hold it upside down, it doesn't fall out. So that's where it's nice and good. It's going to be able to do the job. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sander, and we're going to sand this all the way around. We're going to do it as smooth as possible. What we can't hit with the sander, I'm going to hit with the Dremel, and that's going to be the sander and the Dremel. And then we're going to do some stuff where we're going to actually polish up the ends to where it's a lot smoother. So I actually have to bevel all the way around here. So it's not just a straight cut. You want it beveled all the way around so it's rounded. So we're going to get this next step going, and we're going to go over and start working and get this all going for the next step. All right, so now we got our, now we're going to start the sanding. Just smooth it up. So when I get hit, I'm going to have to hit with the Dremel. Kind of smooth up the ends around a little bit. Then we go to the next step. And there we go. It's all sanded up, fairly smooth. So the next step is we're going to go on the Dremel and start working on the Dremel. So there it is right there. It's getting close. So we're going to go on the Dremel. All right, now we got our Dremel out, and we're going to go over and we're going to start sanding away on this and start working away and getting this all smoothed up. Doing the more detailed stuff. This the other sander was designed to hit the bigger stuff. Now we're going to go hit all the small stuff. So we can smooth this all out for when we're going to go to the next step. We're going to bevel it and then going to go shape it a little bit for the gun. So that way it fits more smoothly for the gun. So we're going to go and get to work on this, and then when we're done, we're going to go to the next step. All right, now that we just sanded it all down, it's looking more and more like a holster. If anything, I think it's pretty dang close to a holster. And I can put my gun in it. I can hold it upside down. My big thing is I want to get my hands right in there so I can pull it out. It's ready to go. That's my big thing. So I had to actually make sure this is all smoothed out. I'm probably going to smooth it out a little bit more so I can get my hands there. I can still feel my knuckle hitting it, and that would be a big problem. So I need to actually turn this, I need to smooth this out a lot more and get this a lot more beveled out so I can get my hands in there and be able to pull my gun out and be able to compete when I go to do competition shooting. So we're going to go over and we're going to start going over and do some polishing work on it and doing some more fine tuning on it. So we're going to get back to work. So we're going to go through and we're going to get some more polishing up right here. And we are just about done with the polishing part of this. All right, there we go. Now we have a nice holster. It's all smoothed out. It feels good. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference for this and one you could buy online. This is a really well made. I'm really impressed on how this came out. I could hold this upside down and it will not fall out. And that's a good holster. And I've seen a lot of holsters, you put guns in, they fall right out. And this is nice because that way I know it's solid in there. It comes right out. So that's pretty nice. I like that. That's a really well-made holster. I would not go wrong with this. So now I'm going to go through and we're going to get our screws and we're going to start screwing into this. And we're going to start getting the belt part of it done. And then it'll be ready to go on the belt. All right, so we got our drill. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sink one hole first. Roll it nice and slow. There we go. Now I made it inside. Made it through. I don't want to punch the table or through the whole thing. So what I want to do is I want to first attach one end, and then I'm going to attach the other. And that way I can attach this to my belt when I go to wear it when I go to compete. So it's going to be just like that when I have it on. So first things first, I want to get this. I want to make sure these are going to fit. And yep, that's going to fit right in there without, like, just like a glove. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel the inside of this. It's going to be a little tricky. I need to bevel just a tiny bit. Let's try to get it all beveled in. And then I'm going to take the Dremel and I'm going to Dremel that in a little bit. So we'll take the Dremel. What this is going to do is it allows the screw to sit more flat inside there. So that way it won't rub against the gun. And that's what I needed to do, so that way it doesn't damage my firearm. And I'm trying to get it to go in, and it does not want to go in. Oh, that's not, because I got the wrong piece in. So, you're going to take the screw, I'm going to put the screw inside there, and the screw will fit like a glove. So I notice that it sticks out just a tiny bit. So this is all about, going through and doing all the fine detail and stuff. That's what this is all about. So we're going to get to work on this. We're going to get this all done. All right, so now we're going to go through. We're going to finish screwing it in. There we go. Now it's screwed in. Now I can put my gun inside it. And there we go. We have ourselves a nice quality holster. I can clip it right on my belt, and I can use it for competition shooting. This is a nice holster. The final step I'm going to do is I'm going to use tactical paint on this. It's a green paint. I have it right here. So we're going to put this on it next, and this is the last step. And then once I have that on it, this is ready to use. We'll pop this on my belt. We'll draw it a few times, and we'll see how well it works. And we'll go to the next step now. All right, so right here we have our holster, and now we're going to spray it with a tactical green. And there we go. That looks really nice. So that came out really nice. So we're going to let this dry. All right. So I just got done constructing this holster right here to this right here. It's slightly different. There's a few things in it that are slightly different, but overall it is a really well-made holster. I followed similar design plans on here as I do on here. This holster, the way you want these holsters is if you want to be able to turn it upside down and the gun does not fall out. But yet when I go to pull it out, the gun comes right out. So I'm going to test it out. First things first, we're going to go through, see that it's unloaded. And we're going to go through, we're going to put the holster on my belt. This is my tactical belt for competition. This is what I use for 3-gun shooting. So as you can tell, I'm going to load a magazine. Then I'm going to deposit the magazine and reholster. So I'm going to pull it out, get the magazine. I'm going to pop the magazine in. Magazine goes in. Deposit the magazine. Reholster. Holster. Reholster. So it works pretty good. I am not complaining. I don't have to look at it to reholster it. It just goes right in. Fits right in without a problem. It's a very comfortable wearing gun. It sits just right. It comes off really easy. I am very surprised of how well this came out. I have no complaints. There's a few things in here that I would like to tweak a little bit, but I think this is going to work really well for me doing competition. If I was in open carry state, I'd feel confident having this as an open carry gun in an open carry state, but because I'm not in an open carry state, I wouldn't be able to carry this as an open carry. But going back to it, this is a really well made. I have no complaints, no issues. It's easy to grab and get out. I mean, I like it a lot. And I can take it off. I can wear this in my pants. I can wear this in my belt. I can put this on other belts. I can remove the holster pretty easily. So yeah, this is a pretty nice holster. I have no complaints on it. It fits really well on my side. I can load the gun inside the holster really easy. This is pretty nice. I mean, I have no complaints. So this ends the class, and I just got done building this holster, and this is how to build these kind of holsters for the design that I have right here that I picked up online, and I kind of emulated and used this as a guide to having this right here to what I wanted to use for competition. So thank you very much and have a great day.